Often, society labels those who prefer silence to the noise of a party as having social difficulties or even a personality flaw. However, what depth psychology reveals is something far more complex and, frankly, fascinating. Having few friends is not necessarily a sign of involuntary isolation or an inability to connect. In fact, for many highly conscious minds, solitude is a strategic choice grounded in emotional precision. When your mind operates at a frequency that seeks meaning and truth, the noise of superficial interactions becomes almost unbearable. We are talking here about an architecture of conscious solitude, where the quality of each interaction is measured not by the number of likes, but by the resonance of the soul. This phenomenon occurs because individuals with this profile possess what we call zero tolerance for superficiality. While most people feel comfortable navigating trivial conversations about the weather or other people's lives, to the conscious observer, this seems like a monumental waste of vital energy. There's an intrinsic rejection of social masks, those personas we're all trained to wear to be accepted in groups. For you, who perhaps identify with this, maintaining a performative facade is too exhausting. You prefer the weight of honest silence to the lightness of a false conversation. It's a relentless search for authenticity, where the presence of another person is only welcome if they are willing to let go of their defenses. The search for depth is another essential pillar of this psychological journey. For those with few friends, so-called small talk is seen as an emotional vacuum. Your mind is geared towards exploring ideas, complex feelings, and the great mysteries of human existence. When you sit down with someone, you don't just want to know how their day at work was. You want to understand what motivates them, what their fears are, and how they perceive the world around them. If the conversation doesn't touch on these sensitive fibers, you feel your energy is being drained without any significant return, leading to a fatigue that no amount of physical rest can cure. Beyond intellectual preference, there's a neurobiological basis for this behavior. High sensitivity in information processing. Your brain doesn't just hear words. It processes tone of voice, facial microexpressions, and the subtext of what wasn't said. This simultaneous processing of multiple sensory data consumes an absurd amount of metabolic energy. That's why, after a short social event, you might feel physically exhausted. For the sensitive brain, solitude isn't a void, but rather a necessary neurological recovery laboratory to rebalance the central nervous system. Being alone is, in fact, the moment when you can finally switch off your sensors and process the internal world with due clarity. It's crucial to understand that this need for withdrawal shouldn't be confused with phobic social avoidance. While social phobia is driven by fear of judgment, conscious solitude is driven by environmental selectivity. You understand that your personal space is sacred and that not everyone possesses the necessary emotional tools to inhabit it without causing disorder. This distinction is vital for your well-being, as it removes the guilt of not wanting to be everywhere at once. You learn that your peace is worth more than the approval of people who barely know your essence. If you identify with what's being said here, share your story in the comments or leave a like and subscribe. Another crucial aspect is the emotional independence that flourishes in those who choose a restricted social circle. Unlike many people who constantly seek external validation to feel valued, you've learned to sustain your own sense of self from a rich inner world. Your self-esteem doesn't fluctuate according to the number of invitations to go out on the weekend, but rather according to your personal integrity and alignment with your values. Having this low social dependence means you don't accept just any company simply to avoid the discomfort of being alone. You become self-sufficient, finding in your own thoughts, readings, and reflections an inexhaustible source of personal growth. This independence creates an extremely powerful natural filter. When you don't desperately need others to be happy, you become much more selective about who you let into your life. This leads to the protection of personal space, often shaped by past life experiences. Perhaps you have been betrayed or experienced profound disappointments that taught you the value of a high threshold of trust. Far from being a sign of bitterness, this caution is a refined form of self. You understand that granting access to your intimacy is a privilege that must be earned with time, consistency, and character. It's an emotional survival mechanism that ensures only compatible souls cross your gates. Often, this protection is seen by others as coldness or arrogance, but the truth is you are simply guarding a valuable treasure. By establishing clear boundaries, you are communicating to the world that your mental health and peace of mind are not for sale. For those who operate with such emotional precision, each new friendship is a significant investment of time and soul. Therefore, the preference for having 2 or 3 true friends instead of 50 acquaintances is not a flaw, but rather an optimization of your capacity to love and be loved. These few connections become solid bridges of mutual support, where depth more than compensates for the lack of social volume. Solitude also allows you to develop a much more analytical and precise worldview. Far from groupthink, you have the freedom to question dogmas and form opinions that are genuinely your own. This healthy distancing from the critical mass allows you to see patterns that others ignore because they are too busy trying to fit in. It is in the quiet of your own room or on a solitary walk that the best ideas often emerge. For the creator, the thinker, or the visionary, solitude is the oxygen that fuels the flame of originality. It is the space where your inner voice speaks louder than the noise of the outside world, allowing you to live a life with purpose. Therefore, if you feel different because you don't have a busy schedule full of social commitments, remember that your mind may simply be operating at a level of consciousness that demands more than the norm. Solitude is not your enemy. It is the guardian of your sanity and the healer of your authenticity. Accepting this facet of your personality is the first step towards a life of profound self. You are not broken and you don't need fixing. What you need is to continue honoring your inner rhythm and valuing the rare yet precious connections that cross your path. The quality of your life will always be a reflection of the depth of your human relationships. Recognizing the value of your own company is an act of rebellion in an era that values extroversion at any cost. By choosing silence, you are choosing yourself in a holistic way. This process of individuation is the most important journey anyone can undertake in their lifetime. It's the moment when you stop being a reflection of others' expectations and become the architect of your own emotional reality. When you finally feel comfortable in your own skin, the presence of other people becomes an optional bonus, not a lifelong necessity. This gives you immense power over your destiny because you will never again accept less than you deserve. Ultimately, having few friends is a testament to a nervous system that refuses to settle for mediocrity. This proves that you value truth above social comfort and depth above the fleeting popularity the world offers. Every moment you spend alone is a brick in the construction of a fortress of self-knowledge that no one can tear down. Continue cultivating your inner garden with patience and discernment. In due time, the flowers of authentic connection will bloom with people who truly vibrate on the same wavelength as you. Until then, enjoy the peace that comes from knowing you are true to your own essence. We hope this analysis has brought clarity to the psychological processes that govern your social and emotional life. Understanding the science behind our need for solitude is the path to transforming the perception of isolation into a celebration of autonomy. Modern psychology is increasingly attentive to these profiles of high sensitivity and awareness, validating what many have intuitively felt for years. If you found value in these words and feel more understood now, know that you are not alone in your search for meaning. That way, I'll know you're enjoying the content. Your journey towards self-knowledge is unique and deserves to be celebrated at every stage. Value each discovery made in silence, for they are the tools that will shape your future and your next interactions. Don't be afraid to be selective, to say no to empty encounters, or to prioritize your constant mental recovery. The world needs people who think deeply and feel intensely, even if they prefer to do so away from the spotlight. Your presence is valuable, and your time is the most precious resource you possess. Spend it wisely and with those who truly deserve access to your world. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like. We will continue to bring you topics that touch the soul and provoke the necessary reflection for your balanced development. Finally, we want to hear from you about what other topics in behavioral psychology or personal development you would like to see detailed here. Your participation is what drives this channel and helps us create increasingly relevant content for your reality. Leave your ideas in the comments about what we can cover on the channel. Always remember, being true to yourself is the greatest form of success you can achieve in life. Thank you for joining us this far and for allowing us to be part of your journey towards a more conscious and authentic life. See you in the next video, exploring the depths of the mind.